big news coming in. 44 lakh Bengalureans applied for curfew passes. Passes applied in the categories of medical and essential services. Cops have issued 1.75 lakh passes, and the passes that have been issued so far have been done so after verifying all details. So there seems to be a massive backlog. We're talking about 44 lakh Bengalureans who've gone ahead and have applied for curfew passes. Out of the 44 lakh, only about 1.75 lakh passes have been issued so far, and this after verifying all the details. For more on this, I'm being joined in by my colleague Pratibha, live from the newsroom. Pratibha, we are talking about a situation where you have 44 lakh applications. So when will the rest of the applications be processed? Will more passes be issued? Because we're only talking about 1.75 lakh passes that have been issued. And what are these passes really meant for, if you could take us through all the details?
Well, Adarsh, firstly, it clearly is an indication of how seriously people have taken the lockdown. A whopping 44 lakh people from across Bengaluru have applied for the passes to step out of their homes. And out of this, of course, like you mentioned, 1.75 lakh passes have been issued already. This in itself is quite a high number. So we're not sure if the police officials are going to issue any more passes unless it is for an emergency case. Now, taking you through what the situation is like. Firstly, who are the people who are applying for these passes? First up, it's important to say that those who are involved in the medical profession, that is the medical professionals, are not required to get any pass at all. So it's not the doctors, the nurses and the medical staff that have applied for these passes. For the government employees, media as well as the bank employees as well, they don't require a pass at all. So apart from the passes that have been issued, there are a huge number of those who are involved in essential services who are already going out. So these are passes for the other individuals in Bengaluru. As of now, 44 lakh people have applied for it. Until the March end itself, 8,000 passes had been issued, which in itself was quite a high number. Several police officials, senior police officials had also said that they're not too happy with the situation because it dilutes the purpose of a lockdown. If you have so many people out on the streets, then it dilutes the purpose of a lockdown in itself, which is why the senior police officials are also opposed to it. But in terms of who are the people applying for it, we also need to remember that those who are involved in delivery are also those who are applying for these passes. It's important. The food chains, the e-commerce websites, all of these delivery personnel are also among those who have applied for these passes. Of course, for them, it's going to be extremely essential, but difficult to say, of course, if all the 44 lakh people who applied for it are them or not. Apart from that, those who have their shops as well as, IT services, petrol pumps, those who are working in the petrol pumps, cold storage and warehouses, these are the people who can apply for passes. Other than that, it is for individuals who have any kind of emergencies. What kind of emergency? Any medical emergency perhaps that they or their family members have, for any death that might have taken place in the family. Apart from that, any pregnancies in the family because of which they would have to visit the hospitals. Or the fourth being, if salaries have to be paid, if you're an employer and you have to pay pay salaries to the employees. These are the reasons or the four categories that the police officials have given to the people who are applying for these passes. Despite that, such a huge number of people applying for these passes also hints at perhaps several people are applying for these passes in a rather frivolous manner. Yesterday as well, when the Bengaluru commissioner had addressed the media as well, he had a message for the people as well, because he knew very well several passes are being applied for many reasons. There have been a few instances where passes have been given away for no reason at all, and the police officials have also received several requests of people saying, just in case there is an emergency, I might need a pass. So this is not the time to be applying for passes for the same. Several people saying, this is something the police commissioner also said. Several people have said that I know so-and-so person, so please help me get a pass. So this lockdown like this is not a time to be getting such kind of passes. The police commissioner had also given out a very strict warning yesterday. He had said that for the increase in the number of people who are applying for these passes, they're also taking away the opportunity of others who perhaps want it, who are in an emergency situation. So unless you really require it, don't apply for these passes, because you're defeating the purpose of a lockdown completely. Such a huge amount of people. Imagine if the Bengaluru police officials were to issue passes to all of those people who have applied for it. 44 lakh people would be out on the streets, apart from, the medical professionals, the journalists, as well as the bank employees and the government employees. Apart from that, 44 lakh people who would be out on the streets. That would clearly defy the lockdown completely. There would be no purpose of the same as well. while we are seeing the lockdown is being maintained in several places, people are maintaining social distancing, staying at home as well. In several areas in Bengaluru, it's not being maintained. Even if in a few places it's not maintained, then it completely defies the purpose of it. It becomes counterproductive, and then the entire exercise will result in nothing, which is why it's so important for people to also do their bit to understand how important it is to ensure they follow these lockdown norms, because it's not for somebody else, it is for you, me and everyone else in their family. That's the reason why it's so important. So the Bengaluru police have also issued these numbers for the people to get a sense of how they're applying for these passes without any reason. The more number we have on the streets, the more the risk is going to be. So the police officials have as of now already issued 1.75 lakh passes. This is a huge jump from what it was at the end of March. That was about 8,000 passes being issued. That in itself was something the police officials were not too happy about. The senior police brass saying it's going to be very difficult to monitor if there are so many vehicles. It will dilute the entire lockdown itself. Now 1.75 passes have been issued already, so the police officials also need to be extremely careful in ensuring that passes are not given out without reason. Adequate checks are also being conducted to ensure that people are taking these passes for valid reasons and not just keeping it just in case they need it or for some frivolous reasons, because that would defeat the purpose completely, others.